Welcome back to World News Daily, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Tonight we begin with a landmark decision that is already sending shockwaves through the American economy and the global marketplace. The Supreme Court has just struck down sweeping tariffs from the Trump era, invalidating levies on imports from over 90 countries, including major trading partners like China, Mexico, and Canada. This historic ruling comes after years of legal battles and intense debate over the limits of presidential power in shaping U.S. trade policy. The court's decision is unambiguous. Only Congress, not the president, has the constitutional authority to impose such broad-based taxes on foreign goods. This reasserts the separation of powers and redefines the balance between the executive and legislative branches when it comes to trade. As a result, the ruling dismantles a core part of the previous administration's America First trade agenda. The government is now ordered to prepare a massive reimbursement, over $100 billion, to U.S. companies that paid these tariffs, a move that could have far-reaching economic consequences. For businesses across the country, this could mean a vital cash infusion, helping them recover from years of higher costs and uncertainty. Many small and medium-sized companies in particular stand to benefit from these refunds, potentially fueling new investments and job growth. For American families, the impact could be felt at the checkout line. With tariffs lifted, prices on everyday goods from groceries to electronics are expected to fall, offering much-needed relief from inflation and making household budgets stretch further. The court hasn't just interpreted a law, it's redrawn the map of American economic policy, setting a new precedent for how trade decisions are made and who holds the power to make them. Tonight we'll break down what this means for your wallet, the legal reasoning behind the decision, and how it will reshape America's role in global trade for years to come. Experts warn that the ripple effects could alter international relationships and the way the U.S. negotiates with its allies and rivals. The Supreme Court has set in motion changes that will be felt by every American, from business owners to consumers, and the world will be watching as the United States enters a new era of trade policy. To truly grasp the impact of the Supreme Court's decision, it's important to first understand what tariffs are and how they work in our daily lives. Tariffs might sound like a technical term reserved for economists and politicians, but they actually affect everyone, from business owners to everyday shoppers. At its core, a tariff is simply a tax placed on goods that are brought into a country from abroad. When a foreign product arrives at the border, the government adds a fee, making that product more expensive than it would be otherwise. The idea is to make imported goods costlier, so that products made within the country seem like a better deal. This, in theory, gives an advantage to domestic producers and encourages people to buy local. Governments use tariffs for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's to protect local industries from foreign competition, especially if those industries are struggling. Other times, tariffs are used as a bargaining chip in international negotiations, pressuring other countries to change their own trade policies. And of course, tariffs can be a way for governments to raise extra revenue, which can be spent on public services or infrastructure. But the story doesn't end at the border. The extra cost from tariffs doesn't just disappear, it gets passed along the supply chain. Importers pay the tariff, but then they often raise their prices when selling to wholesalers. Wholesalers do the same when selling to retailers, and retailers finally pass those higher prices on to you, the consumer, at the checkout counter. This hidden tax can quietly drive up the prices of everyday items, from shoes and clothing to electronics and groceries. As a result, families may find their budgets stretched thinner, and the overall cost of living can rise. Over time, these price increases can contribute to inflation, making it harder for everyone to afford the things they need. Tariffs can also have a big impact on jobs and the way products are made. While they might help certain industries by shielding them from foreign competition, they can hurt others, especially those that rely on imported materials. For example, car makers who need steel from overseas may face higher costs, which can lead to job cuts or even factory closures. And it doesn't stop there. When the U.S. imposes tariffs, other countries often respond by placing their own tariffs on American goods. This retaliation can make it harder for American farmers and manufacturers to sell their products abroad, leading to lost sales and even more economic pain at home. In short, tariffs are a double-edged sword. While they can offer protection to some industries and serve as a tool in international negotiations, they also risk provoking trade wars, raising prices, and creating uncertainty for businesses and workers alike. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs isn't just about taxes or legal technicalities, it's about how these costs and consequences ripple through the entire economy, affecting everything from big corporations to small businesses and families. That's why understanding tariffs is so important. It helps explain why this decision matters, not just for policymakers, but for all of us who feel the effects in our wallets and our workplaces. Now, let's take a closer look at how these policies became so divisive, and why the debate over tariffs continues to shape our economy and our politics. The Trump administration's tariffs marked a sharp break from decades of lower trade barriers. Starting in 2018, tariffs targeted hundreds of billions in imports, especially from China, sparking a trade war and extending to allies like Canada and the EU. The stated goals: fight unfair trade practices, pressure for new deals, and protect national security. Supporters saw tariffs as a way to revive American manufacturing and jobs, even if it meant higher prices. Opponents, businesses, farmers, economists, warned of higher costs, lost export markets, and strained alliances. The result: a deeply polarized debate, with tariffs acting as both shield and weapon in a global economic fight. The Supreme Court's decision now brings this era to a close. The Supreme Court's ruling wasn't about whether tariffs are good or bad policy, it was about who gets to decide. The Constitution gives Congress, not the President, the power to set taxes and regulate trade. The court found the Trump administration overstepped by imposing sweeping tariffs without clear congressional approval. Invoking the major questions doctrine, the justices said only Congress can authorize such major economic actions. This decision reasserts Congress's central role in trade policy and limits the president's unilateral power. Future presidents must now seek explicit approval from lawmakers before launching broad tariff regimes. The ruling restores a core democratic principle. Big economic decisions require public debate and congressional consent. The most immediate impact: money, lots of it, flowing back to American companies. The government must refund over $100 billion in tariffs, offering a lifeline to businesses, especially smaller ones. This cash injection could spur investment, hiring, and growth. For consumers, the removal of tariffs means lower prices on everything from clothes to electronics, easing inflation and stretching household budgets. The ruling also sets a new legal precedent. Presidents can't use vague laws to impose sweeping tariffs. Any future trade wars will require Congress's explicit approval. The era of unilateral tariff policy is over. The checks and balances of the Constitution are back at the center of trade. Tariffs have shaped America since its founding. Alexander Hamilton championed them to protect young industries. Thomas Jefferson opposed them, fearing higher costs for farmers. The North and South clashed over tariffs for decades, nearly splitting the nation in the 1830s. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff of 1930, meant to protect jobs, instead triggered global retaliation and deepened the Great Depression. After World War II, the U.S. led a shift toward free trade, lowering barriers and building global institutions. For 70 years, bipartisan consensus favored open markets, until the Trump administration revived aggressive tariffs. The Supreme Court's ruling is a course correction, returning trade power to Congress and echoing debates as old as the Republic. America's tariff story is one of conflict, correction, and the constant search for balance. This decision is the latest chapter. The court's decision will be felt in factories, shops, and homes across the country, touching nearly every corner of American life. For businesses, especially those that depend on global supply chains, the end of tariffs means more than just lower costs. It opens the door to new opportunities for growth, innovation, and expansion. Companies can now invest with greater confidence, knowing that unpredictable fees and trade barriers are no longer standing in their way. This could lead to more hiring, better wages, and a renewed sense of optimism in industries that have struggled under the weight of tariffs. Lower costs for businesses often translate into lower prices for consumers, unlocking growth that's been on hold for years and making everyday goods more affordable for everyone. For families, the change will show up at the checkout, whether you're buying groceries, clothes, or electronics. The savings may seem small at first, but over time they add up, making a real difference in household budgets. Electronics, clothing, and food all could get cheaper. Relief from this hidden tax comes at a crucial time for households squeezed by rising costs and inflation. More affordable goods mean families can stretch their dollars further, covering essentials, saving for the future, or even enjoying a little more comfort and security. For many, It could mean less stress at the end of the month, and a bit more left over for savings, emergencies, or special occasions. Workers benefit too, as healthier businesses mean more job security, new opportunities, and the potential for better pay and benefits. When companies thrive, they're more likely to invest in their people, offer training, and create a positive work environment. The ruling removes a major drag on the economy, promising a more stable, prosperous environment for all. The impact is real, immediate, and will ripple through communities large and small. This is not just a legal shift, it's a change you'll feel in your daily life, from the workplace to the dinner table, and everywhere in between. The Supreme Court's decision will echo far beyond U.S. borders. When America imposed tariffs, other countries retaliated, hurting U.S. farmers and exporters. Now, with the tariffs gone, those retaliatory duties are expected to be rolled back, reopening vital markets for American goods. For farmers and factory workers, this could mean new orders, jobs, and stability. Globally, the ruling restores predictability to trade, encouraging investment and rebuilding trust with allies. The era of trade policy by executive order is over. The world can expect a more stable, rules-based approach from the U.S. This shift strengthens America's partnerships and its role as a reliable anchor in the global economy. The decision paves the way for greater cooperation on issues from climate to security. America is signaling it values collaboration over conflict. The global economy just got a little more predictable. In the end, the Supreme Court's decision delivers two big wins. First, it's a victory for consumers and businesses: lower prices, more investment, and relief from a hidden tax. Second, it's a triumph for the Constitution, reaffirming that only Congress can make sweeping economic decisions. The ruling restores checks and balances, ensuring major policies are debated and decided in public, not by executive decree. This isn't just about trade, it's about how America is governed. The court has reset the rules, putting power back in the hands of the people's representatives. The impact will be felt in your wallet and in the halls of Congress. The Supreme Court has redrawn the balance of power at the heart of American democracy.